Hey, Carlos Lago with Edmunds here, and that is the 2021 BMW M3. But not just any M3, it's the M3 Competition, a fact it proudly displays with badges on its fenders and door sills. The M3 has been synonymous with fun-to-drive sedans since the 1980s, but now it's in its 6th generation. So it and its competitors have changed substantially. You still have the traditionals like the Mercedes-Benz C63 AMG, the Audi S4, and you also have new competitors from Alfa Romeo and Cadillac, and a few others, including the Tesla Model 3 Performance. The world's changed a lot. So what is the M3 doing to stay relevant? What's good about it? What's not so good about it? And is it worth your hard-earned cash, or is it worth the time you want to spend on the internet arguing about it? Why don't you go ahead and start an argument below in the comments, because we'll answer some of these questions. And also be sure to visit edmunds.com/sellmycar to get an instant cash offer on your car. And also give this video a like and subscribe to this channel if you like what we're doing. We'd really appreciate it. Before we start talking about the M3 and the M4, we have to get the biggest headline out of the way first. All this, because this dominates the conversation when you talk about the M3 and the M4. My personal take is it's ugly, and I don't like it, and I want to not like the car because of it. On the other hand, taste is subjective, so there are probably people out there who actually think this looks cool and it's stunning and it gets a lot of attention. No argument about that. You also have to kind of appreciate how bold BMW is being. I mean, this car is effectively highlighter yellow and has a contrasting blue interior. It's definitely not the way I would order it, but if you want to be loud and proud, you can. You know, there's that saying, flaunt it if you got it, and if you don't got it, hey, still flaunt it, right? Let's move on. The 2021 M3 is longer, wider, and taller than the previous generation M3. We haven't weighed this particular car yet, but using BMW's own specifications, this is about 260 pounds heavier than an equivalent M3 Competition from the last generation. It's also more expensive. The base M3 starts at roughly $71,000, and that's rear-wheel drive with a 6-speed manual transmission. Getting the M4 Coupe adds $3 grand to that price. Adding the Competition package to either is $2 grand, respectively. So why would you want the Competition pack? Well, it adds additional cooling hardware if you want to go fast on a racetrack, for example. You get a couple aesthetic upgrades, and you also get just over 500 horsepower from that twin-turbo straight-six under the hood. On the downside, it's only available with an automatic transmission, but on the other hand, it will be available with all-wheel drive very shortly. And that should make for improved 0 to 60 mile an hour times, which are always important when it comes to internet bragging rights. Anyway, this particular car has a bunch of options on it. Most of them have to do with carbon fiber. You have the carbon fiber exterior trim, carbon fiber interior trim, the carbon bucket seats, carbon ceramic brakes, and also the M drivers package with a few other things, which gives us a higher top speed and also a day of driver training. All total, this car costs just under $100,000, and that's quite a lot of money. Another upgrade you get with the Competition package are the wheels and tires. They're an inch larger front and rear, and they look really good. It's probably the best looking part on this car, in my opinion. The front, they're 19s, and the rears, they're 20s. They're wrapped with Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires, 275 in the front, 285 in the rear. Now, as for brakes, the base M3 and M4 come with 15-inch rotors in the front, 14.6-inch rotors in the rear. But when you opt for carbon ceramics, because, you know, what self-respecting sports car in 2021 doesn't offer carbon ceramics? My God, you get 15.7-inch rotors in the front and 15-inch rotors in the rear. That's a lot of brake. Now, I'll also point out too, if you happen to see a new sports car riding around with these Michelin's Pilot Sports, or I believe the Cups too, and you see this like texture here, go ahead and rub it because it feels neat. It's almost like felt, but maybe ask the owner before you do it, because that's a weird thing to do to tires you don't own, but it's neat. Good Lord, this thing is fast. So, the M3 has always been so desirable because it marries extreme fun to drive behavior with the utility of a sedan. Part of the way you get that behavior is through a dynamic engine. Now, the M3 has had almost every configuration of engine that you can put in a sports car, from a 4-cylinder to a 6-cylinder to a V8, and now turbocharged 6 cylinders have been in the previous generation and this generation. I, for one, long for the days of naturally aspirated, high revving engines that don't have turbochargers and superchargers because they sound and feel really exciting. But that's no longer the world we live in, generally speaking. So this engine, given the restrictions of today with regard to fuel economy and efficiency and all that stuff, this is pretty exciting, especially from a power delivery standpoint. When this engine gets into the meat of its power band, it feels real strong between 5,000 and 6,000 RPM or so. And the gearing is spaced close enough that when you're shifting in between those points, you feel like you're riding this wave of acceleration that feels really, really good. And it's a lot of acceleration as well. This is just over 500 horsepower, so the way it's able to generate speed is very, very exciting too. Now, the sound is aggressive, and when you have the exhaust in the sport setting and the engine in its Sport Plus mode, there's some additional engine feedback coming into the cabin that's not there otherwise. And it is, again, adds to the experience. I'm not going to say it sounds good, but it is aggressive. And that is pleasing. You know when you're on the gas pedal in this thing how far you are to redline based on the sound and the experience from behind the wheel, that sense of acceleration again. It all feels really nice. So given the constraints of today, I'd give it a pretty strong A+ in terms of response and feel. That's nice. The transmission, this 8-speed automatic, shifts basically without any complaints from me. It does exactly what I ask it. This transmission does the job I would hope it to. It shifts quickly and it shifts responsibly at the end of the day. Now, you can probably hear in this cabin that this is a bit louder of an experience than you would expect from a normal 3 Series, and part of that has to do with the additional changes that the 3 Series goes through when it becomes the M3. This is a stiffer, firmer chassis with all the upgraded suspension componentry and so on, and that translates to more feedback, road feedback coming through the wheels, tires, and into the cabin. You feel it most noticeably through the seat. Like if you put this on a textured surface like I am now, I feel each one of those impacts, each one of those tire impacts. Not in a way that's uncomfortable. It's not firm. The suspension control is enough to control those impacts and just relay that they're happening to me, the driver. It's a nice way to provide feedback without interrupting the driving experience. But I will say, when you're on the freeway and just driving to work, this is a louder, noisier interior due to literal sound and noise, but also those frequencies and bumps from the road. So that's kind of mixed, but that's what gives you the exciting driving experience. When you have the suspension in sport like I have it in now, on a road like this, you can charge up this with confidence in the traction, confidence in the steering, and confidence with the entire driving experience, which leads to having a lot of fun at the wheel. The steering wheel itself is chunky. It feels good to hold on to. The gripping is appropriate for an M3. This works really well. In terms of precision, I put it up into sport to get a little more resistance, a little bit less assistance out of it, because that helped me dial in my input a bit more accurately. But overall, it feels really nice. These optional bucket seats that we talked about earlier, they are very supportive without feeling uncomfortable. A lot of bucket seats give you a lot of support, but not a lot of comfort often. These ones do a nice job of blending the two, and I think part of that has to do with the fact that their side lumbar is power adjusting. So if you're a bit wider than myself, you can open up that lumbar and fit more comfortably. That's really good too. Woo-hoo-hoo. This engine just wants to rip. My God, this thing is fast. My God, this thing is powerful. This engine is really, really capable. And it feels like you have just a smidge more engine than you have tire grip. And in my mind, that's the right place to be. Just slightly too much power. That's always a good feeling when it comes to a driving experience in an M3. I know all-wheel drive will be available for this car. I look forward to evaluating that version of the M3 and the M4. Would I want it based on my experience with this? I don't think it's necessary so far unless you really care about that all-important 0 to 60 time. Overall, this M3, in my mind, does what you would hope an M3 would do. It is usable as a family car, so you can sell it to the family as a responsible idea, but it's also thrilling to drive. This thing feels very exciting and serious in a way that you would expect from the competition badge. That is an important distinction, and the fact that you can get it in a four-door sedan with a drift mode is just cool in my mind. Driving experience is great. Does it outweigh the exterior design? That's for you to decide. When you hop inside the M3, or at least this particular M3, you go, whoa, that's really blue and yellow. It kind of reminds me of spandex from the late 80s and early 90s. Don't get your car in this color. Actually, if you do, if you want it, get it. I definitely would not. But anyway, missing the point. The M3, because it's based on the 3 Series, much like how the M4 is based on the 4 Series coupe, you reap all the benefits that you would get from a sedan. That means a really nice, large interior space for both front and rear passengers. There's plenty of room in that back seat for adults of, normal size. And a usable interior with an interior layout that makes sense and plenty of outward visibility too. You reap all the benefits of being a sedan and having a trunk as well. That's really nice. Now, all the M stuff shows up in one part with all the sheer number of carbon fiber bits. There's carbon fiber on the steering wheel, carbon fiber shift paddles, carbon fiber on the center console here, carbon fiber on these optional bucket seats. There's carbon fiber everywhere. They want you to know that you're driving something special. That's why there's also red accents and red and blue accents in the traditional motorsport, BMW motorsport colors as well. The thing that really stands out to me is the sheer number of drive modes. There's a lot of them. You have the traditional stuff that you would expect in a modern sports car, like being able to change the engine response or the adaptive damper firmness or the steering assistance. You have 2 to 3 different settings for each of those. But then you can also change how responsive or sensitive the brake pedal is. This automatic transmission has 3 levels of shift firmness adjustment in automatic and an additional 3 for manual. When you get this car with all-wheel drive, the all-wheel drive system has 3 different settings. One of them, fortunately, is 2-wheel drive, so you can still do drifts, but we'll talk about that more in a second. The sheer number of drive modes is kind of overwhelming at first. If you buy this car, if you spend a lot of time with it, you'll figure out the ones that work for you, and how that works for you is that you have these little M1 and M2 buttons on top of the steering wheel. Those have been around on previous M cars, and those are basically drive mode shortcuts. You can program them like you would a radio station. You set your ideal steering, suspension, stability control, intervention level, threshold, and then you save that by holding the button. So you can key up the car in comfort, for example, have M1 be sport and M2 be racetrack kill mode, or however you want to set it up for yourself. So it works after you've spent some time with it, but I kind of wish that like BMW would take away some of the adjustment, because I kind of just want BMW to have an opinion about how sensitive a brake pedal should be. This is a 500 horsepower sports sedan. I'm going to accept, that there's going to be some control that BMW would have over that experience. Anyway, you can solve it with those buttons. The interesting thing, though, is when you get down here to this M traction control, you can only activate the setting when stability control is off, like it is now. You have 10 levels and an off mode. What this does here is it keeps stability control off, but you can change the threshold of traction control intervention. Why would you want to do that? Well, when you're power sliding and you're not very skilled at it, you want some safety net, and this allows you to bias that amount of safety net to keep it would back off the engine to control wheel spin, so you don't end up in a ditch somewhere or in the gravel trap at a drift event. Speaking of drifting, this car actually has a drift analyzer, which is neat and wild and kind of cool to see in a new car. When you turn it on, you can see here there's actually stars that will guide you and rate you on the quality of your drift. It'll evaluate your level of understeer, it'll evaluate your level of oversteer, and so on. You can adjust the traction control, and you'll see that you can actually have more stars available when you turn traction control all the way off, as opposed to when you turn it all the way up, you have fewer stars available at your disposal. It's kind of like a video game, which is neat. kind of fun. You can also change it from a single drift rating to a drift session, where it'll tell you how long you've been drifting. This is really fun, neat stuff to show up in a car from the dealership. I'm really looking forward to being able to play with it when we can get it to our test track. We weren't able to do that in time for this review to go live, but this is exciting and neat, something that I think is just a lot of fun to play around with once you're on a off-highway surface, obviously. So where does that leave the M3 after our first experience behind the wheel? It's pretty good. Let's go through the pros and the cons though. The pro is this thing is really fun to drive. The acceleration and response from that engine to the ride and handling make for an experience that will make you giggle while you're driving fast, plain and simple. Combine that with the functionality of a sedan design from the interior layout to the trunk, and you have a really usable vehicle as well. And that's the formula that made the M3 so special, and it's worked for the M3 for so many years. Also, I like the little fun bits in the infotainment, especially that little drift mode. It's a nice little touch of character. On the downside, there's two minor ones first, and you could probably live with them if you own the car. The interior noise during the commute is a little high, and the excessive amount of drive modes, but that's stuff you could figure out. After that comes the price. Stack options on this car, and it gets expensive in a hurry. Lastly though, there's how it looks. It's my biggest personal turnoff, although I know some people watching this are totally fine with that. And if you're okay with that, you're gonna love driving this car. Let us know if you are in the comments below. Also let us know what you'd like to see in the inevitable comparisons and drag race that feature this vehicle. We have a few in mind and we wanna know what you think. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed what we're doing, and also be sure to visit edmunds.com at the links below to see more information about vehicles like this.